Hello, everybody. Good morning. Wave if you can hear me. Hello, my little nature nuts. It is Miss Beth here. Always super excited to see you. And today we are going to talk about one of my favorite holidays that just so happens to be tomorrow, Wednesday, April 22nd. And it is the holiday that we get to celebrate our home, planet Earth. So tomorrow is indeed Earth Day, and Earth Day is a day where we can celebrate everything we take from the earth and figure out ways that we can give back to the earth and show our love and appreciation for the planet we call home. So if you look around your room right now, everything you have in your house has parts of it that came from the earth. The chairs that you're sitting on, your picture frames on the wall, the toys that you play with, all those things that we have that make us happy and comfortable actually come from the earth. So it's important to appreciate the earth for everything we get from it. And one of the simplest ways we can do that is by recycling. Recycling gives us the opportunity to take what we use and turn it into something else. Because believe it or not, everything that we take from the earth needs to be changed into something else so that we don't run out of all of our materials. Recycling is what we do to change one item into something else so that we can use it again. Hopefully you have a recycling bin at home in your kitchen where you put all your cans and bottles, and that's one simple way that we can help the earth. Now you're probably thinking, Miss Beth, you're crazy. I don't go out to the earth and pick my toy train off a bush or go to the forest and take my table out of the dirt. How could I possibly get all these things from the earth? Well, let's talk about it. There are so many things we take from the earth and we change them into different things. So all of the items you see here on my page are items that we take from the earth. We use trees. We use rocks. We use something called oil. Oil is a big puddle down deep into the earth that we drill down into and pull out. And we also use sand from the beach. Now, how is that possible? We've talked a lot about trees in celebrating Tu B'Shvat, and we have talked about all the wonderful things trees give us. Everyone take a deep breath. All that air came from the trees, so thank you, trees. We've also talked about the fruit and the food that we get from the trees and many other things. But if you look around your room right now, there's something very important that we also get from trees, and that is our paper, whether it be the newspapers that you read, the drawing paper you create your pictures on, or the books that you look at. We also get something to build with from our trees that may have built your dining room table, the chair you're sitting on, or even the bed you sleep on, and that is wood. So just trees from the earth give us quite a bit that we use every day, and we've talked about how we use trees. But what about rocks? If you look around your room right now, do you sleep on a rock? Do you sit on a rock? No. But what we get from the rocks is all of our different metals. So Miss Beth went through her recycling bin to find some things we take from the earth. And I found an aluminum can. And this aluminum can actually comes from rocks that we take from the earth. All the metal you see around you at home, your forks, your spoons, your pots, your pans, all the little metal pieces that make up your toys actually come from rocks that we take from the earth. So there's lots of different things that we can create out of earth's pieces. Now, what about oil? I said that oil was a big black puddle deep down into the earth, and it's actually been there for millions of years. It's been there since the dinosaurs, and we are pulling that oil from the earth and using it to make different things. We are using it to make the most common item in your home, and that is plastic. This is a plastic soap container, but you have plastic toys, you have plastic utensils, you have plastic bags, and all of that is made from something that we take from the earth. oil. What about sand? Sand are those small pieces of rocks that we get from the beach. And I don't have any sand in my home, although it would be nice to have a little beach at home. But we take sand from the earth and we create another item that I have in my recycling bin, and that is glass. The glass that makes our jars, the glass that makes our windows and our fish tanks, all come from the sands on earth. So if we keep taking things from earth, if we keep taking trees to make our cardboard boxes, if we keep taking rocks to make our soda cans and soup cans, and oil to make our plastic, and take all the sand off the beach to make our glass, there's not going to be anything left. So it is our job as little nature nuts living here on earth to do what we can to help save and recycle all those items. Now, I showed you this symbol of recycling, which is 3 arrows, 1, 2, 3, and it is in the shape of a triangle. And that is the symbol for recycling. So when I look at all the items that I'm using, like my aluminum can, I can look on it and look for that item, look for that symbol that tells me, yes, I can recycle this. I can bring this to a facility where they will melt it down and turn it into something new. So by recycling my aluminum can, maybe they'll turn it into a soup can. I can look on the bottom of any of my plastic items and I'll see that same triangle. Send it to the facility. Maybe they'll melt it down and turn it into a new toy. And the same with my glass jars. I look for that symbol, I can recycle it, send it away somewhere else, and they can turn it into something new. That way, I'm not taking from the earth, but I can take what I have and turn it into something new. So for today's activity, we're going to look at all the paper that we take from earth, and we are going to take that paper and recycle it into something new, okay? So for today's activity, we are going to use some of our old paper and turn it into some beautiful new paper and recycle the paper into something new. Okay, so in order to do that, it does get a little messy, so I am going to start by putting a towel down here in front of me. And in order to recycle my paper, first I need to go through my recycling bin and see what paper I have. So I have old pieces of construction paper left over from my craft projects. I have the newspaper that I already read that I would otherwise throw out. And then I even have some pieces of junk mail that I don't need anymore that I would throw out. But instead of putting it in the garbage where it's not going to do anything good for the earth, I can turn it into something new. So the first thing you're going to do to create your own paper is actually cut all your paper into small pieces. You can use a scissor, or if you have your younger kids at home, you can simply give them a pile of paper and have them rip them into small pieces. We are going to take these small pieces of paper and turn them into what's called pulp, like a mixture of tiny, tiny pieces that's super wet so that we're able to turn it into new paper. So once I get my paper all chopped up, what I'm going to do is add some water to it to get it nice and wet and let that sit for a little bit. Once my water pieces get nice and wet, I have to turn them into pulp. And I'm going to do that by using a blender. So using your blender, pour in all your wet pieces of paper that you've already cut, give it a nice little mix. And now I have what's called pulp, which is a big pile of minced up small pieces of paper. And this is what's going to help us make our new paper. So now what I need is a container to put my pulp in. And I need a screen. So this is the same kind of screen that you have in your windows and your screen doors. You can use just a regular piece of screen, or if you want to create a shape, you can use a frame. So I simply attached some screen to this cheap dollar store frame to help me get a nice rectangle when it's time to make my paper. But again, I can just use regular screen as well. So now that I have my pulp, I'm gonna pour it into a container. Get it all nice mixed up in there. And you can see all the different colors from all the different pieces of construction paper that I minced up. So if you just wanted one color paper, you could choose just one color scrap that you have. But I kind of like the mixture that it makes when I use all different types of paper. I think that looks really pretty. So after I have my pulp in my container, I need to make it nice and wet and full, because what I'm going to do is actually use my screen to pick up some of this pulp, some of this mushed up paper pieces, and create a whole new piece of paper. So I'm going to take my screen, whichever one I'd like, and I'm going to dip it in my container underneath my pulp. Now you can use your fingers and kind of scatter a little pulp on top. You don't want it to be super thick. You want a nice thin layer. And then if you lift up your screen and give it a little shake, your water will come out, but your pulp stays there in the shape of the screen that you have. So if I just try to lose some of that water, shake it about so it's nice and even, then what I have to do is start the process of drying the pulp. In order to do that, I am going to use a towel. Please use a towel instead of a paper towel, because paper towels come from trees too, and we just throw those out. I could just wash this towel and reuse it, and it's another way I can help the earth. So I have my screen with my pulp on a towel. I'm going to use another towel and simply press and squish. You want to soak up a lot of that water, leaving just a sheet of that pulp behind to be able to make your beautiful piece of paper. So once I have squished out a decent amount of that water, I can pop my screen over, shake it out, and what I have already created is a nice, beautiful, colorful sheet of paper. Now it is still super wet, so be gentle with it, but I made it in that nice rectangle shape, 4 sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, and now I have to let it sit and dry. If it was a beautiful sunny day, you could put it out in the sun, or I just left mine on a towel to dry, and it was dry overnight. Okay. Now again, you don't need that framed screen. So if you don't want to go through the trouble of creating that different shape, you could just cut yourself a piece of screen and do the same process. Wiggle it in under the pulp, get some nice layers of that pulp on there, and do the same thing. Let the water drip out. I'll just move this out of my way. Put it on the towel, and the same thing. And that way, if you have a bigger piece of screen and you create a bigger sheet of paper, what you can do is once it dries, you can cut it into the different shapes you might like. Again, here I have my nice thin piece of paper using that pulp to create anything I'd like. Pretty easy, right? So then, like I said, when it dries, you might have a kind of weird shape with some mixed up edges, but that's okay, because then I can just take my scissors and cut it into a clean rectangle if I'd like, or maybe turn it into a circle, or any shape that you'd like for your paper. And then it becomes usable for anything you've used paper for in the past. I can create pictures on it and draw on it. I can write a note or a message, and I could use it as my notepad. I can even make many, many pieces of paper, add them together, and make a book out of my recycled paper. So that's something really cool that we can do to help the earth. But there's more, because now I still have this big tray of pulp. And instead of just throwing it out, which we know does not help the earth, I can use it to turn it into another awesome item. And what I'm going to turn the rest of my pulp into are seed bombs. And seed bombs are, again, just a mixture of the paper pulp. And this time, what I'm going to add to it are some seeds, some wildflower seeds. And that's really cool, because we know that paper came from the earth. I took it from the tree. And when we take things from the earth can take it back. So if I throw this paper onto the dirt with all those seeds into it, the earth will take the paper back, it'll break down into the dirt, and leave me with seeds to grow beautiful flowers in. And in order to do that, I'm going to use my pulp that I have here. And what I need to do is kind of just separate it from the water. So I'm going to use a strainer. I'm going to just dump that out into a bucket without making too much of a mess. And then I just kind of have to help that water get through the strainer so I can release a lot of that water and just have my pulp behind. And it actually has a really cool feeling to it. It's not like slime at all, but it does have a kind of mushy, wet texture, like baby food maybe. And we know that we can use it to still make some really awesome things. So once I get my water all drained out and I have just a big pile of my pulp, all I need to do is open up my flower seeds. Any flower seed will do, wildflower seeds or anything you have on hand. Add it to my pulp mixture that I have here. And then comes the fun part. You are going to grab a pile of your pulp and just keep squeezing it out and forming it into a ball. You could be creative here, and instead of using a ball, maybe you can make it into a cookie cutter shape. If you want to make a star, or if you have some cool cookie cutters, you can do the same thing by pressing your pulp into it. And there you have it, a ball that not only has paper in it, but it has seeds to grow as well, which I think is a really cute gift. We have Mother's Day coming up. Maybe you have someone special that you want to do something nice for that loves flowers and gardening. If you make them these adorable little seed balls, all they have to do is take it outside, throw that seed ball right into the dirt, wait a couple of days, and with some water and some sunshine, they will start to see these magical seed bombs turn into beautiful flowers. And if you have, to make it a cute gift, if you just have a cute little bag at home, just let those seed balls sit for a couple of days, let them dry out, and how adorable. You can give a nice gift that helps save the earth and make someone feel loved and special by growing new flowers as well. So there are so many things that we can do to help celebrate the planet that we call home. Happy Earth Day to everyone. I hope you guys are recycling at home, taking things and helping them turn into something else, to stop taking from the earth, but give back to it when we can. So my friends, keep recycling, keep smiling. I miss you terribly. I hope this recycling project keeps